Howdy guys, Jimmy Song here. In this video I wanted to talk a little bit about fungibility and what it is. A lot of people like to throw around that word and talk about fungibility as if it's some critical feature, and it can be considered that. But in this video hopefully I can talk to you about it in a reasonable manner, and hopefully you get an idea of what it is and why it's important to a lot of people. Alright, so first of all, fungibility is this idea that one part, one unit of something and another unit of something are more or less indistinguishable and trade for the same amount. So something that's not fungible is something like diamonds, right? Like if I offer to trade you my diamond for your diamond, you would be like, well, no, it's this, like I don't know how many carats yours has, and I don't know the cut, I don't know the clarity and the color and stuff like that, and those things all have a factor into the price of a diamond. And if you try to trade just one for one, you're going to get those questions. Something like gold is much more fungible. 1 ounce of gold is the same as any other ounce of gold given the same purity. Even there's some questions around that, because something that's a little purer, even if it's by like 0.1%, is considered a little rarer because it's harder to get gold to be as pure. So that's what fungibility is, and for money this is a very important property. If I give you a $20 bill and ask for change like 10, 5, and 5 ones, you'll do it, assuming you're a nice person, because they're worth the same. This is the idea behind fungibility. Although interestingly, even with the U.S. dollar, it turns out that in foreign countries, a crisp new U.S. $100 bill trades for a higher premium than an old $100 bill. The reason being that people like to gift each other nice crisp $100 bills, and an old one is not really appropriate for gifting. So even there, it's not exactly the same. So that said, Bitcoin is actually really fungible in the sense that one unit is the same as another. Like 1 Bitcoin is worth 1 Bitcoin. There's no special Bitcoin per se, although there is something about that, right? Like if you get freshly minted coins from a miner, supposedly that can trade for a slight premium, and that's what we're talking about with fungibility. There are certain ones that are a little rarer that people may want for various reasons. So, there is something like that. And the major way in which Bitcoin can be non-fungible is if there's some like government intervention or somebody that's unwilling to take certain kinds of coins. So, if a coin is known to have come from a drug dealer, or it can be traced back to the Silk Road, or some darknet market or something like that, then that may not be worth as much as a Bitcoin that comes from Coinbase, right? And it's possible for an exchange like Coinbase or Gemini or somebody like that to say, you know what, your Bitcoins that come from the darknet market are no good here. And that's what people talk about largely with respect to fungibility. How can we make sure that those two are treated exactly equal? And the main way you can do that is by adding privacy to the coin. So something like confidential transactions, which is implemented in Monero, allows you to get that fungibility. So it's very difficult to know which coins were actually spent, and that's how they do it. You have 10 transaction outputs, and it's one of them, but you don't know which one it is. That's what ring signatures are all about. So it could be from the darknet market, or it could come from Shapeshift. Yeah, you have no idea. And the way the signature algorithm works is that it's spent from one of these, but you don't know which one or the amount, and that makes it very fungible. That at the same time, though, that causes new problems, because you can't. The UTXO set continues to grow over time. You can't ever eliminate anything from the UTXO set, so there's a trade-off there, right? Zcash does something similar with zero-knowledge proofs. Unfortunately, running a lot of zero-knowledge proofs takes a lot of CPU, and it takes like a minute to create, which is not really viable if you're a major service and you need to, create them on a constant basis. I don't know. I mean, it may become more feasible later. Um, but yeah, I mean, there are trade-offs there, and there's security assumptions that ZK Snarks makes that may not, maybe it's a little more novel, I would say. Um, so anyway, those are some things that you have to watch out for, in adding privacy. Now, you could do something like a sidechain that has these privacy properties, and certainly like that's one of the promises of a sidechain, is that you can create a sidechain with fungibility and then like bring it back on chain to the main chain whenever you need to. But that is what fungibility is, and that's why people are concerned about it, is because they don't want government control in any way. So they don't, if they were converting back to fiat, they don't want it to be in such a way as to make it possible for Coinbase to easily block you. Now, they can already kind of block you, right? If you don't give them your AML KYC information, they basically more or less won't have you as a customer. So I think the future is in more decentralized stuff, like peer-to-peer trading and things like that. But that said, this is a concern for a lot of people. I'm personally not as concerned about it because, like, I think the medium of exchange, or salability across distance and not necessarily time, is not quite as important. And you can see it in my other, I talk about it in the Why Price is Important video. A lot of those people don't actually care about the price. They're not in it for the long term. And but there aren't as many of those as there are people that are using it as a store of value, salability across time. And that's the major thing missing about the U.S. dollar, right? Is that a lot of people, are perfectly happy utilizing credit cards and the U.S. dollar for medium of exchange purchases, and for good reason. Most merchants take them, and it's very easy to go and get goods and services using dollars. But getting it out of Bitcoin tends to be much more of a pain, and not as many people accept it. Although that will change over time as it becomes more of a store of value, ironically enough. So anyway, that's my thought on fungibility. Hopefully that helps you, and hopefully you understand what it is. And this song is done.